Welcome back to Film Flashback, where I take a look at movies and shows to see what makes them great or what could have made them better. I'm your host, MD, and this time I wanted to go over the first two episodes of The Acolyte and explain the good, the bad, the questionable, and a few changes I think would have made it an even better story. But before we do, here's your warning that there are major spoilers ahead. First, the good. Soul was the best part of the show. I knew Jung-Jae would be amazing in The Acolyte after watching him in Squid Games. I figured he would bring the compassion and angst from that show into this one, and he certainly delivered. I really liked his relationship with Osha. It actually felt like a real father-daughter moment when he sat with her as they reminisced about her training. Soul is also an interesting character because he doesn't believe in all of the dogmatic rules of the Jedi. For example, even though they're supposed to handcuff Osha because she is a suspect, he chose not to. He also argues with Vernestra because he wants to search for May after their encounter. And he hid the fact that May and Osha were twins. The Jedi Council is notorious for being set in their ways, and Soul chooses not to follow them regularly. I bet we will find out later that Soul actually lied to Osha about her past, which will make her no longer trust him and side with her sister. If so, it should be a really powerful scene. What was also cool was the creepy vision Osha had about May after she crash landed. I hope we get to see more of this as the story unfolds about what happened that fateful night. I also like a good mystery as we are all trying to figure out why May is doing this, who is behind it all, and why now. We have some idea, but it has not been fully explained as of yet. This keeps us all engaged to see if we can guess who is behind the mask and telling her what to do. The mystery of what happened that night reminded me of a Denzel Washington, Meg Ryan movie called Courage Under Fire. It came out a while ago, so if you haven't seen it, it is a definite must-watch. In that film, Denzel was an army officer who tries to find out what happened to a helicopter pilot on her last fateful night before she earns the Medal of Honor. There were a few guys on the helicopter with her who all dealt with the tragedy in their own way. The same can be said for everyone involved in The Acolyte. Count Naka has isolated himself on a distant planet. Torbin hasn't spoken in years. And while Soul remains on Coruscant, Indara is also far away and no one talks to each other. All of these Jedi Masters seem to be devastated by the events of that night, and each handled it differently. And I like the Jedi Kung-Fu. It certainly is a departure from what we have seen before, and it is fun to watch even though it didn't fit the Star Wars I've ever seen. Watching Carrie Ann Moss fight May certainly reminded me of one of the greatest movies of all time, The Matrix. But I think that was the point. It's just too bad we didn't get more of her in this show. I don't expect to see this fighting style ever again in Star Wars though. Can you imagine Obi-Wan Kenobi doing a roundhouse kick or using nunchucks? That would be crazy. And now for the not so good. First and foremost, I still have an issue with Reva from the Obi-Wan Kenobi show taking a lightsaber to the gut not once, but twice, and surviving, and without any medical attention. Having seen Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn go down right after he was struck with one made it strange that anyone could survive that. And we have seen Ahsoka and Rey take down an entire ship with their lightsabers, and those planes are made of metal, so I don't think the human anatomy could fare much better. Then it happens again when Sabine gets hit in almost the exact same place as Reva, and lives to tell about it. At least she was rushed to the hospital, but still without an explanation on how either survived. We are left to guess. All of this to say how it was a disappointment to see Indara go down the way she did. And it's true that she was hit in the heart, which would be lethal, but if a lightsaber can take down a ship, it should do major damage to a person too. I was hoping it would have been a brutal fight between Indara and May, where May barely survives and is wounded in the process. She is fighting a Jedi Master, so it should be hard. And seeing Indara go down because of a tiny knife when others have survived a lightsaber was frustrating because it feels inconsistent. Carrie Ann Moss was the most famous actress on the show and was in all of the trailers and posters promoting it. Their battle was building up to May trying to take the lightsaber because I thought she was going to use it to take her down, but that never happened. So why did she reach for it if she was never going to use it? Another issue is we don't really care about any of these Jedi, so when May takes them out, it has very little impact on us as an audience. Just because they are Jedi does not mean we will automatically care for them when that happens. The loss of Indara was tough only because we remember Carrie Ann Moss for her role in The Matrix, and how it was strange to see such a well-known actress go down so quickly. And seeing Torbin harm himself was also disappointing. It would have been more impactful if we had seen him in a much happier state before we get to him like this. And if his time was coming to an end, it would have been more satisfying for him to go down by combat. The Wookiee Kalnaka is next, and if he goes down too, we still really won't care because we aren't invested in him either. Maybe if we knew May was under some sort of time constraint or suffering by doing this, we would feel something. I also felt Jedi Knight Yord was a wasted opportunity to show us all of the rules the Jedi must follow at that time. He just completed his training and was someone who strictly follows all of the rules. So making him travel with Master Soul on his mission, who does not always agree with the Jedi ways, would have made for an interesting conflict between them. We do get some of this, but the primary focus is making him look like an idiot. And finally, it was strange to see some characters make really questionable decisions. For one, why would Soul bring a young Jedi Knight in Yord and a Padawan to bring in Osha if they thought she was strong enough to take down the powerful Indara? That should have been several Jedi Masters instead. Also, it was strange how the alien at the bar was brought in to ID her on the ship. It was convenient to bring him in for that one moment, and he was never seen again. We should have had either surveillance footage at the bar or a hologram of her like what we saw Soul looking at earlier. And why put her on a separate ship instead of taking her directly to Coruscant with them? That seemed strange, and the moment that happened, I knew she would somehow escape. I think having the Jedi make bad decisions actually hurts the story. Intelligent characters who make smart choices creates a far more entertaining show than characters who make silly moves like this. And some of the dialogue just felt clunky, especially at the very beginning when May faced off against Indara. And I found it strange how she just allowed May to destroy all of those aliens at the bar. I thought she was a keeper of the peace. Also, Leslie Headland, the creator of the show, said the Acolyte is a combination of Frozen and Kill Bill. Even though all of the characters in Kill Bill knew they wronged the bride, they all still fought to the death. So even though Torbin felt guilty about his role in what happened at night, I still think there should have been some sort of combat to settle the score. So here's how I would have liked to have seen the beginning of the Acolyte go. Start with the 4 Jedi, Indara, Soul, Kalnaka, and Torbin several years ago aboard their ship. Show Torbin much happier, talkative, almost to the point where he talks too much, and make it a point to show how he looked before his scars. Show how powerful Indara is as she easily uses the Force to move Kalnaka around, which angers him. Then they have an issue with their ship, which forces them to make an emergency landing on a nearby planet of Brendok. While the others try to fix the ship, Soul wanders out and finds 2 Force-sensitive children that look to be in danger. He tells the others, and Indara contacts the Jedi Council to see how they should proceed. The Council says they must meet before making a decision, but Soul cannot wait and heads out, which forces the others to protect him. They find a coven of witches and explain they are keepers of the peace, but before they earn their trust, the witches prepare to attack. Then jump to an explosion and show Soul crying how he could save them both while Indara holds him back. Then have Kalnaka tend to a badly wounded Torbin without showing exactly what happened. Then jump to present day where Indara runs into Vernestra, who will ask if she has seen Master Torbin in a while. Indara confirms she checks on him regularly, and Vernestra wonders what made him this way, but Indara is evasive in her answer. When she heads into town, we get to see how much respect everyone has for her by how well she is treated, revered even. She talks to a badly disfigured Torbin, who never responds. She says she will come back as usual and heads to her home planet, where she runs into May. But this time, May initially loses, and Indara sees the mark on her forehead and says, "Impossible," before May escapes. Indara contacts Sol and leaves a message for him. For Torbin, who of course doesn't respond, and Kalnaka, who is away. Sol is teaching a class where he gets Indara's message. They speak secretly, and she tells him how Osha has turned to the dark side, like she feared, and it must stop before the council finds out. Sol doesn't think Osha has it in her, but he reluctantly agrees to help. On the way out, Vernestra informs Sol that he must take Yord and the Padawan Jeki on their first mission. He tries to get out of it, but is forced to take them. Meanwhile, May talks to a mysterious figure, worried that she cannot go through with it. The figure tells her she must, or else it'll be worse for her, and whispers in her ear to try this. Later, Indara finds May, who struggles again in battle, but this time fights dirty by throwing several daggers at innocent bystanders. Indara uses the Force to stop them, and Nat allows May to force pull her lightsaber and stab her with it. May is scared that she actually pulled it off and pauses, which allows her to be caught on camera as she takes off with the lightsaber. Her plan is to use Indara's lightsaber to take down Torbin and collect all of their lightsabers, kind of like a trophy case. Then have Sol show up too late and try to explain to Yord what is happening and why they should not tell the council just yet. I think this would have created more tension in the story if Sol tries to hide what he knows from Yord, who will report on him since he is a by-the-book young Jedi. It would have been interesting to see what lengths Sol would go through to prove Osha was innocent and hide what really happened that fateful night. This would also set up the rest of the show to see if Sol can stop May before she gets to the others and who is behind it all. And there you have it, my review of episodes 1 and 2 of The Acolyte. Overall, I like these episodes and I am looking forward to seeing what happens next. Even so, I believe these few changes would have made this show more of what we were hoping for. Let me know in the comments section below what you thought about this video and this show. Also, please like and subscribe so you can enjoy future videos on my channel. As always, thanks for watching.